And all right, hello everybody. Tonight is the 13th of Dallas. 13th of December in Dallas, the tornado capital of Texas, I guess. So we're here tonight, Dallas Personal Robotics Group. We're going to go around the table, talk about robot projects, show and tell, maybe answer questions if anyone has any. So just a little brief background. It's free to attend. You can go to this website and keep up with what's going on. Some of the regulars help cover dues, but it's not a requirement. And then housekeeping, we have tentatively Saturday presentation by Aaron Rain. It's a FIRST robotics team here in Dallas, and on this coming Saturday, although that's tentative. So maybe we'll talk about that a little later when their coach joins us. So we'll just do the usual. We'll go around the table. We have Pat to lead us off, and then Chris, and then sooner or later Kareem. But other than that, it's open mic. So with that, I would say, Pat, floor is yours. What you got?
Hi, everybody. Sorry to hear about the weather. And hopefully everybody's safe. But I have today, I wanted to present my initial findings with my time of flight Arducam. Cool. So I'm having a little bit of trouble with my mouse. I'm going to try to share my screen. So if everybody can see my screen.
Thanks.
I backed this on Kickstarter, and I received it a couple of weeks ago, about 10 days ago, I guess, maybe. It's a time of flight camera using, I believe it's LiDAR and a camera, and it's supposed to give me an image similar to this for a distance. In the 2 meter or 4 meter range. So I decided to power it all up, get it going, and see what I can do. Let me see if I can bring up my other window.
So did you install Bullseye on?
Yeah, so I put Bullseye on a Raspberry Pi. And I don't know if you can see my Raspberry Pi screen.
Yep.
Maybe it's better if I just reshare that screen. Might be a little bigger.
So were there any little gotchas along the way of, did you follow somebody's instructions on how to do it all, or?
Yeah, definitely. I followed instructions on how to load it and how to tie it all in, get it going. So I've loaded it up. They had a script to load the drivers on, and I did that. And I've slightly modified the script. I'm running one of their test. It came with some examples. So on the screen, you can see an example of the camera reporting back distance. So it was reporting floating point back in meters. I've changed it to integers in centimeters. So you can see the top left image, or the top right image is an amplitude image. So it's essentially like a grayscale image. The top left image is the depth image. So basically, it's the laser light being detected.
Is it a point cloud?
Well, you can get point cloud out of it, but this one isn't point cloud.
It's not, okay. Yeah.
Okay, but there is a function for point cloud out of it as well. And then the bottom image is essentially top of each other, and to detect the depth. So far, it looks okay, but the problem I'm having is, well, number one, I get a low voltage warning every once in a while because I need to power the camera separately. So there is a connector, and right now I have it hooked to the Pi. I am powering the Pi with, I think it's a 5-volt supply, but I think it's still overwhelming everything with the Pi itself. So I'm going to power it up separately off of another regulator and see how it goes. But you can see in the bottom image, there's a little red box.
Yep.
So if I click on the orange item, it's just a little container I put in front of it. So you can see that my distance is 2.6 meters. And if I put that in front, my distance is still 263 or 262 centimeters or 2.6 meters. And it doesn't change. So I found that really interesting. So then if I go to, I don't know why my mouse is giving me trouble tonight. Probably battery's dying. If I move it, I can get a closer distance. I'm trying to see where it was exactly. I had it before. So there's 2.6 meter or 2 point something meters, and then 43. So it looks like this map is almost inverted. And I haven't figured out that yet. So why I can't get a good representation of where the item is. So you can see I'm at 43 centimeters. And that is approximately 43 centimeters from the camera. When I remove the container, I go up to 2 meters away, which the closest item is, I don't know if you can see where my hand is disappearing here, is about 2 meters away. So I haven't figured out what's going on, and I sent an email to the RGCam group to see if they can replicate my findings.
Hey, is there any chance, Pat, that you have the X and Y axis backwards or something like that?
Well, I thought of that, but this is the program essentially that they have. Or I multiplied the distance by 100 to give me centimeters instead of floating point. And then I did add the preview for the depth camera image. And that's about it for modifications I've made. Incidentally, when I run the so if I quit that.
So that distance isn't like don't denoted by the little red box. It's just or something.
Well, it's the where you put the cursor is the distance.
Oh, okay.
So
Which is not.
Yeah, I'm just going to
Well,
go.
it's not the distance where the little red box is.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's not the.
So wherever your mouse is over it,
So
or
the
something?
measured distance, if you don't do anything other than move the cursor, the measured distance does change,
Yeah, I'll show you. I'm starting it up
Right.
here from scratch.
but it doesn't match the image that you're seeing.
Yeah, it doesn't match the image.
I mean, my guess would be that the y-axis coordinates are inverted between the cursor's coordinate system and the camera's coordinate system.
Yeah, that's a common problem because things like displays will measure down from the top or other things up from the bottom for the Y. So it's hit or miss sometimes.
Yeah. So this is what they were reporting. So they've got NEN, which is not a number. And so in my example, if it's not a number, I put in 999. Just so that programs don't crap out. I don't have to check if it's not a number. Instead, I can just say that it's not 999, so report the distance. But if I do the same thing here with the mouse and I click in the box, now it's harder to see, it's gray because I changed the color. But you can see that it's 2.6 meters. And it's definitely not 2.6 meters to that orange.
Oh, well. Yeah.
I'm about 45 centimeters away, roughly. So
Yeah. Now, if you click at the same x coordinate, but go up to the top.
if I click over here, you're saying?
Yeah. If you click over there,
Yeah.
what do you get?
Yeah, so now I'm about a meter away
And now go back down again to the
to the
so
box.
about the same distance from the there you go. So you notice that's about the same.
No, it didn't click.
Wait, no? Is it the same?
No, it's not clicking on me. There it is.
There it is.
Well, that's further.
It's
But
2.6 meters.
yeah, Pat, try all the corners. About that same. Well, not all the way to the corner. Yeah, like there.
So if I go here, so there's about my 45 centimeters, so 0.46.
Yeah. So I think they're inverted, the axes.
Both of them.
Yeah, both.
Yeah, both axes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been trying to figure it out, and so far the problem I'm having is getting the mouse and everything to follow with the depth data. So I tried flipping the depth data. So I flipped it up down, but I think I have to flip it up, down, and left, right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what it looks like.
Well, most video images 0, 0 is the upper left, and it goes.
Oh, wait. Are you
Positive.
saying you've already flipped one axis?
I already flipped it up, down.
With what we're
And
looking at, right?
yeah, when I flipped it up, down, where the cursor is right now, like roughly here, I would see that 45 centimeters.
All right. So then only one of the axes is really flipped,
Yeah.
I think.
So, no, well, that's when I just flipped it up, down. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on, and I'm still trying to figure
Okay,
it
so
out.
it's still either one or both, depending on
Yeah,
what you're.
but there.
Okay,
seems
can
to
you
be
leave your cursor where it says 45 and then move your box and see if it changes?
No, I can't, because the cursor is in the box. It's in that part of the program.
You mean the orange target?
Oh, you mean
Yeah,
move the
like
orange?
if you
Yeah,
clicked
yeah.
in the blue region, 5 centimeters or something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
then
if I
you
move
move the box, will it change?
it does change.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So if I get the right spot, and I have to find the right spot because
Oh, you think? Yeah, I guess it would be over there.
so if I
Yep.
take it out, and I get to 2 point something meters, but I'm still like it should be. It's over 2 meters to the wall, but it may be close to 2. If you can see my hand, I'm moving it back just out of the focal length. Essentially, that's 2 meters, and when I put the box back, I'm back to the 40 some centimeters.
Yeah.
So, and this is their program straight out of their deal. So this shouldn't be,
Yeah.
they should send an example program that works.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like even though you inverted it, it didn't invert the distance data, or didn't
Yeah,
the
so
distance data didn't follow.
I'm going to try again to invert just the distance data, but I think I'm going to invert it both ways. So I'm going to do a flip up down, and I'm going to do a flip left right, and then see how it responds.
So interesting. So it's how long has this Kickstarter project been out there?
They just started releasing the cameras. I think it was at the end of November.
Yeah, I didn't get mine till early part of December.
It's kind of hard to believe that. Well, maybe not. Like it's hard to believe they would code something and not actually test it.
Well, that's
It
I
could
hope,
happen.
it's you expect to get
Well,
something that's working.
It raises the possibility if you assume that they tested it and they did more than just a really dumb test. The other possibility is it's something specific to the environment that's inverting the coordinates.
Well, and it's possible it could be a different version of one of the Python drivers or something, the Python libraries.
Or maybe they did development on a different firmware version or something and made one available, but they haven't published the other yet or something.
Is it compatible with Buster?
I don't know. So they put it on Bullseye is what they did. So last week I showed you guys that drive, that M.2 drive I was using. So I formatted that out, put Bullseye on it, and that's what I loaded it up as a test.
Yeah, because one of the things I found out recently is some third-party cameras that are not official Raspberry Pi are not compatible with Buster. I found that out the hard way.
Okay.
I bought one and didn't read the fine print that said this camera only works on Bullseye. Because
Okay.
they've changed the camera stack.
Yeah.
And that's
So
not entirely true, because it only works correctly on Bullseye.
yeah. So they said use Bullseye in their examples.
Oh,
But
then
I may
they have no
try
excuse.
on,
If it doesn't work, then they have no excuse.
yeah. So I followed what they did, and like I say, I'm still trying to figure it out, because it seems like I moved my cursor around, and it's not. I've got a pretty stable orange surface in the bottom image, and I should be able to click essentially anywhere in that orange image and get about the same depth. And I'm not. So if I'm clicking in the top right corner, and I should still have a fairly big area that I can get that same distance.
Hey, Pat,
Yep.
can you just, okay, I came a little late to this. Can you move I assume it's trying to tell you the distance where the rectangle is.
So yeah, if you can see the rectangle here.
There's two. I see two. I see one that's moving with your mouse. Is that the
Yeah,
one?
that's just, the one that's moving with the mouse. And then there's
Okay.
a gray one right in there.
Yeah, what's the gray one?
So that gray one is, I believe, reporting the distance back from that orange box.
Yeah, and you missed the part about where we determined that one or both of the axes in the coordinate system are inverted. So it's reading, the box is not, the rectangular box is not showing where it's actually picking the reading from.
Okay, so you didn't invert the image, right?
I didn't do anything. So this is the actual, this
The
is
way
the
it came
from
set up.
from the exam.
Okay, all right.
So if you
Just
can
for
see
grins, what happens if you put the orange, the little cursor thing on the orange? What does it change? I don't see anything changing.
No, yeah, we've already been
Oh,
through
wait,
this.
whoa, something went.
yeah. So now I'm at 2.6 meters, as opposed
Okay.
to 0.47, which is
The box distance.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sounds. Okay, move over to the other quadrant. Right. Yeah, right there.
So I haven't figured this out yet. It's
Okay,
Sorry.
so let's assume where the blue is in the front. Can you go down to the opposite location to the blue? It will go straight up, wouldn't it? Oh, it would go over there. Okay.
so yeah. So I've been looking at. We tried all four quadrants. He didn't get them out, because the more I think about it, it's
Would it help to shoot the camera at a blank wall and introduce only one variable, one shape, so then that way you can help isolate in between just two variables?
Well, that will make it a lot easier. Just put the box in the lower right corner, right in the lower right corner. You don't have to worry about how big the target is. Just put your cursor right corner of the image, and then get a very small target. It doesn't have to be, get right up in the corner, all the way in the corner.
Yeah.
All right, now all you need is, it's not registering anything. Maybe
not a number.
Maybe the window that you're displaying is actually bigger than the processor's actual window that it's operating on. That's interesting.
Your image is well aligned in scale and size with the other one in location.
So we're not only now talking about whether coordinates are inverted, we're even talking about whether or not they're to the same scale.
Yeah. So that's and that's one of the things I was looking at, because seems to be some dead spots all over the place.
Yeah, I think you need I think like John was saying, you probably need a simpler target to start with, so that you can try to figure it out.
Yeah.
What does ANN mean?
Not a number.
Not a number.
It's out of range or something.
It's just reported back. Yeah, it comes back as not a number. And I in the program that I modified, because not a number can wreak havoc with when you're waiting on a number coming back and all of a sudden you get NAN. So I did that and said, okay, well, if it's not a number, make it 999.
They have in their example code, it looks like on this one, it's showing you, I'm wondering if there's one that shows like it represents the is that what this bottom one is supposed to be, where orange is closer to you and blue is further away?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then from an image perspective, then it seems to be indicating the right thing, right? Because the visual spectrum image on top matches what you'd expect from the depth image in the bottom.
Yeah, and that's what I get. So this is an amplitude, which is essentially a grayscale.
Well, see that? Yeah, that's the other thing, is that it'll give you not a number. Will it give you not a number if it's further than the range it can measure, or will it just give you the maximum number?
I believe it'll give you not a number.
Oh, so that point that you have selected in the image may just be farther away than it can register.
I don't think it's working. I think just
So it may not be an issue with image scale not matching the images.
but on the displays is still on. I don't know how to turn it off.
So if you had a depth scene that was within where most of the scene was within the range.
Yeah, if I aimed it at a wall and was close to the wall, then that would be a different story.
Well, but if it had some like variation, so because what it looks like to me is that the depth image below would match what you'd expect above, and knowing where things are. So the trouble maybe it's I don't know, John, if this is what you're talking about, but maybe it's a matter of the mouse cursor, just mapping the mouse cursor to the depth image. In other words,
yeah. Well, I mean, I think whoever suggested it, simplifying the test to the camera perpendicular, normal to the flat wall, and then a small target like on the end of a wand. Just get a little stick, and put a target maybe just a few inches in diameter, and then wave it around until you can get a new reading. And I'll tell you exactly where the cursor is pointing to.
Yeah, I might do that. Right now I've got a clamp to my robot on the side of my desk here, but I might clamp it somewhere else and see if I can figure out what's going on, because like I say, it's definitely not behaving like I'm supposed to. I found my problem with my mouse. Is I'm clicking on the image in my screen on the Google Meet, and not my image of my Raspberry Pi.
Is that because you're doing it through Google Meet and it works?
Well, yeah, because I was
better otherwise.
No, just because I was looking at the Google Meet screen and trying to click on it.
Oh, okay.
So even there, so at 0.47 meters. I'm not at 470 millimeters, which is 47 centimeters. Yeah, I'm pretty close. So, that's very close to where it's saying, where the cursor, the gray box is right now. That's very close to this distance. the boxes from the camera. And when I move it, I'm picking up 1.8, 1.9 meters, which is, I'm not 100% sure what it's picking up. I've got this guy here, a little box that's there in this area. And it's about that distance. So it could be the other thing that it's reporting.
Well, it definitely responded to when you put the box up.
Oh, definitely. So I'm seeing it respond. It's just I was expecting it to work. And I'm trying to guess where the edges of this.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the results from that email you sent.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything yet.
If they'll admit to making a programming error.
Well, I didn't send it on a forum board or anything like that. They just had a support email address, and I sent it into that to say, hey,
Well, same thing.
Yeah. But at least that won't appear on a general board somewhere. And if they did make a mistake, they can just whatever. But I'd be surprised. I'm the first guy to say, hey, look, it doesn't work.
Maybe you're just the first guy to order one.
I know I got mine, but I haven't. I took it out of the box and looked at it, and then put it back in the box. So I haven't even hooked it up yet.
I was all eager.
So a typical user.
Yeah.
In the snow and take a picture of my chain link fence to see how it would work.
Pat, have you tried? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you tried running this not through VNC? I don't know if could that be causing any issues with where you're clicking on the mouse. I mean, it's unlikely, but just a thought.
I don't know. I could scrounge and try to find a monitor that I can hook to my Raspberry Pi.
No, what you could do, Pat, if you wanted to, you could open up. I don't know. You might need Chromium. You open up a browser window and go to DPRG and just click on, and your Raspberry Pi will log on to the meeting.
Well, you can just
I've done that in the past.
Plug the mouse into the Pi and move it around with the Pi, but observe it through VNC.
Well, that I can do. That's easy enough to do.
Then that at least should eliminate any goofy mouse translation errors.
Yeah, because in the bottom image there in the blue, I don't know what those small rectangles mean, but it just almost looks like it's confused about where you're clicking.
Well, there's two. So one of them follows the mouse. One of the boxes. One of them follows the mouse, and the other one is where you've clicked.
Okay. Yeah. So.
But I do have a USB mouse.
Yeah, I mean, scratch that. I mean, it's probably not an issue related to that, but
it's dropping the gray box where he seems to want it. So,
Yeah, because in order for that to be the problem, the mouse coordinates. You notice the mouse coordinates match the display coordinates when the
Right.
box is drawn. So
Yeah, that's the other
both
thing.
both systems would have to be messed up in order for that to be true.
yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's the issue.
No, it's not. So I'm still trying to figure out why. I would think after spending $30 US on this.
Well,
But
I
Well,
mean,
$30, you're asking a lot. Yeah.
are there
It wasn't
YouTube
bad.
videos? I mean, is it working for other people?
Well, that's the question I have. But this is their example. So it's straight out of their example. To me, it should just work.
Yeah. Well, if I were to, like Carl said, it looks like the depth map is working. The depth map is working.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that are close are close. The things that are far are far. The question is, rectangular part is that, and the question is it register? Does it register? Is the process you move the mouse to where you want and you click it, and then when the stationary mouse becomes the new position, and that's where it starts taking the reading.
And
Well,
that's what I
long-
don't
long
know. I'm
story-
going to show you the depth.
I mean, it
map.
may, while you're waving the mouse around, it might not be taking a reading. It may only be when you double click it and move the stationary box.
Yeah, I thought that's what he's saying, Doug.
Mm.
Yeah.
So this is the one I've modified. And where's my depth map?
So that program like reports the distance of the stationary gray box, not
Wherever
the
wherever
cursor white box.
you can wave it around, and that's nothing's happening there. It's only until you.
But even that, the distances aren't right, right?
Okay. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
this one, the distances aren't right. So I'm just gonna put this one back up. So there's the depth map.
What are you running? The original unmodified code? Or-
This is the modified. This for the depth map. The one I was just previously running was the unmodified.
Right.
Okay. So if I go back and I click in here. So, and you can see that my distance is, I've changed it to centimeters. It's 263 centimeters, roughly 260 centimeters. And if I click back into that area, 4 centimeters. So in this one, I changed the color of the box. I made it red so that it's easier to see.
So it's
And-
almost like it should be saying 200 something right now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe it's like one click behind. So go back into the orange or go somewhere else in the blue. Okay. Go a little bit to the right, just somewhere else in the blue. It's almost like it's one click behind. Well, scratch that.
No, it still pretty much corresponds to
Yeah.
the theory of the inverted axes. So I think that basically we've come down to there's only two realistic options. Their code is wrong, their sample code is wrong, or your environment is not what they tested with.
Yeah. So when you look up in the depth map, you can clearly see the box I put in front of the camera. You see a big whitewash of areas. Apparently, it means something in the depth data. But here in the left side of the depth image, you can see my stairwell. So you can see my open frame stairs going upstairs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can just make those out. So the depth image is, for all intents and purposes, it is the right way.
So you said this only cost you $30?
Yeah.
30 US, 50 Canadian.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
the
a
image
Kickstarter
looks
project-
right. So
Kickstarter
it might
project?
just be something with the Python in terms of how it grabs the data, where it grabs it from. Just it really looks like a bug in the Python.
Can just real quick?
Yeah, sure.
We're
just
not
curious.
doubting you, Pat. We don't think it's you, but
Oh, come
Yeah.
on. It's not the first time I screw up script, but I'll take you back to the original.
Yeah. Well, we know that, right? So the question would be, is it's really simple to invert the axes.
It's beginning to look like it, yeah.
Usually that's pretty simple to do. So if you look at the code, is it something that you could change very quickly?
Well, yeah, he knows he can do it quickly because he already did it to one axis.
Yeah, I've already done it. But I don't think it's in the image buffer itself. I think it comes in when we do the on mouse event here. And
Yeah.
Select.
So basically, if we get an event, we capture the XY position, and there's some flags and params. There's a left button down that does nothing. So you pass. Else, if it's left button up, then we select a rectangle.
Yeah, well, so when you, I guess a question I have is if you could just change these, like where it says y plus 4, you would go for the x-axis, it'd be 240 minus x, just turn them back. Oh, hey, Steve's on. Just change the axes, just invert them right here.
So make it minus 240.
Yeah, like, x is x plus 4, so it would be 240 minus x or something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, the really easy way to do this, I think, is at the top of the function where you have x and y as inputs.
Yeah.
Say x equals minus x or y equals minus y. Simple.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well, if x equals minus x, would it not just go to minus 240 then?
What go to minus 240?
So if x comes back as 240, and you say, okay, it's equal to minus x, would it not just be minus?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah, I was steering you wrong there. You're right. You have to subtract from your maximum.
Yeah, so it would have to be
240 minus x.
Yeah, but still,
minus
at the
x.
beginning of the function, you would say x equals 240 minus x, and y equals whatever minus y.
Wait a minute. It looks to me like this is where it's setting the bounds, it's setting the coordinates of the select rectangles.
Yes.
Yeah, the rectangles that it needs to draw.
Okay. But
and that's the problem I have is it's drawing everything in the correct place.
yes, right. So now where does it map the selected, because you're only mousing in a single location. So where does it map that single location to the depth map?
So that's these guys here. And it's drawing them in the correct location.
Because those are globals.
The globals is drawing. Okay. So this is select rectangle distance, the mean of the depth buffer from x1 to x2 and y1 to y2. Because it
Or
looked
the
like
corners of the box.
pixel level depth measuring.
So those are small variances, plus and minus 4, around the xy coordinate. That was.
Yeah. So here's where we're selecting and displaying the two boxes, one around the cursor, the follow, and the selected rectangle, which is the one where we've clicked. And they're matching up with the mouse on the picture. And then here's where we're grabbing the distance out of the depth map. So that may be where we're going wrong.
That's what I'm wondering. Because if the so because this buffer thing, it takes 2 points.
X1 colon X2 and Y1 colon Y2.
Well, so is that supposed to be XY comma XY, or is it supposed to be?
No, I think it's the
Colon usually indicates a range, right?
yeah.
So I'd look at I would look at the indexing convention for the depth buffer. and make sure that it's because it looks like as we saw, it looked like the select buffer, the select rectangles are showing up where the mouse indicates on the image, but that is grabbing the wrong depth data, like it's inverted.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe you've got to invert the depth data.
I've tried inverting the image, but I haven't tried
inverting the index.
inverting the index.
Right.
So are you saying, in other words, to swap X for Y?
Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, or swap the two X's and swap the two Y's. I mean, I don't know. However that depth buffer index is supposed to work, it looks like it just feels to me like maybe the indexing is inverted.
So is this supposed to be
something like that? I mean, I'd hate to admit it, or maybe not, but I would look at the manual for depth buffer. But
yeah, just out of curiosity.
Doesn't hurt to try it.
You don't want to do that, do you? Yeah.
What? Look at the manual.
No. He was putting Y in a.
Yeah.
Or I thought he should have put an X.
Oh.
I can't type without looking at the keys.
Carl, I'm into cheating. He's reading the manual.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to admit going there, but well, it's easy to recommend somebody else go there. That's easier than doing it yourself.
Oh, Carl, before I forget, are you still interested in making your own hovercraft?
My own what?
Your own hovercraft?
Well, who isn't?
Who isn't? Oh, okay. There was a Hackaday article in Google. Some guy made an electric hovercraft, shows him buzzing around out in his driveway. So
cool. Let's try the other corners.
Yeah, that doesn't look right so far.
No, but I would check the manual.
Yeah, I'm gonna check the manual.
Yeah.
I'm gonna revert my example my example here before I have to re-download everything.
Well, still, if you can get it to work, and basically all you got to do is solve the coordinate problem. That's pretty nice for $30.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna say I'm glad you gave it a shot, Pat, because like I say, that does look good.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, it's $50 on their website now.
Yeah, it's 50.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It was $30 US on the Kickstarter. I paid a little bit for international shipping, but it's still come through as like $50 Canadian.
So wait, is it still a Kickstarter project or
No. It's a delivered Kickstarter.
Well, since they've met the pledge and started to deliver, it's up to them as to whether they want to honor the early bird Kickstarter price. So clearly they're choosing not to, right? So they give you a lower price with an unknown delivery date during the Kickstarting campaign. Then after that, you get a more baked unit, but you pay a higher price.
Yeah.
Yeah, and is an unknown delivery date. It's unknown if it will actually be delivered.
Ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
There's an example that'll probably a lot of people here might be affected by. If you got your Oak D Lite in the Kickstarter, it comes without a IMU, but if you buy the part now, it comes with an IMU built in.
Yeah.
So I bought a cable set, a 1 meter long cable set, but it also came with a
box
with the fan housing and like a little case.
Do you need the fan?
Well, that's what I don't know. I haven't checked the temperature on it yet.
Oh.
I've got a temperature gun. I'll check the temperature. But what I did notice is there's a little brass 1/4 inch threaded
tripod mount.
Yeah, camera tripod mount. Yeah.
But the way I've got the camera mounted right now, the image is coming out properly. If I flip it, to have the cable come out with the brass knob down, the image is inverted, it's upside down. Which I thought.
Now we might know how it was tested. I was curious.
Without the case.
No, with the case.
So it's but even then your image would be displayed upside
Oh,
down.
I see.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think you guys are
but your coordinates might be right.
yeah. You guys found
You know
the
what I mean?
problem, I'm sure of it. It's the mapping. We're going to look in the depth map at the wrong spot. And it's
Yeah.
like you say, just open up the manual, go see what the what we're selecting out of that map, and it'll get to the right coordinate. I've tried
You're tempting
flipping
me.
the images, I've tried flipping the depth maps, and without any luck. And you guys, I think, have nailed it. It's just where we're going to get that depth data out of the file.
You guys are tempting me though. It's like that's within my. That's cool. I think I should buy one range without actually having a use for it.
So I started when I see something available, Amazon or wherever, I buy it because it might be 2 years before you can get something.
Yeah, with the supply, that's an interesting point. With the supply chain issues, you should order things before you actually need them.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
before you even determine that you'll need them.
Hey,
They
Sean,
do
just
that,
need any more justification than that. Just do it because you might need it.
By June 2023, Raspberry Pi should be back in full stock.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if anybody had seen the thing from Even Upton. He said,
Yeah, the 100,000 units is supposed to deliver or something.
As
Yeah,
a matter of fact, just today, I went out to because I saw a post on Facebook in the Raspberry Pi forum. They were debating about when they'd be available. Just today, I went out to Adafruit, and I have an account on Adafruit. Applied for notices when the Pis are back in stock, and in anticipation of that, what Adafruit is doing is they will only allow them to be sold in quantities of 1 to each customer. And in order to verify that, you have to actually have your account settings set to, I forget what the setting is. There's a special setting in your account. You have to have 2-factor authentication enabled, and you have to actually use this app that identifies you specifically. So they're trying to defeat the bot buyers. So I went and did that in case they do get an email any day that there's Pis available.
Yeah, Adafruit's been doing that. Has had that policy for a while now to do 2-factor and do all the stuff to keep the scoundrels from doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
When
Showing
is
up on
the
eBay.
anticipated delivery? What did you say? June?
Oh, no, it wasn't me who said it. I don't know who said it.
The thing is, according to them, the supply chain's getting better, and they believe by the second quarter, everybody who wants a Pi should be able to get a Pi of 2023, and by the third quarter, they should have enough just sitting on the shelf, so you just walk in and pick it up from authorized dealers.
And the caveat is if nothing happens.
Well, yeah, you don't know. Somebody could play hand grenades or nuclear war. I don't know. You never know.
If the sun comes up and the creek don't rise. There
Or,
we go.
or China could decide to invade Taiwan, and then nobody gets chips.
Yeah.
That's right.
Or a ton of people decide that they want to buy things before they need them.
Yeah. Toilet paper.
Or I could just make funky keyboards out of all of them, buy them all up, so you guys can't use them for real stuff.
My goodness.
Yeah, what prompted my response to go out there to Adafruit is that somebody posted in the Raspberry Pi forum on Facebook that they had a few compute modules available and they were selling them in lots of 10 for like $4,300. And somebody said, "What?" It's like, that's $430 each, which is
Yep.
10 times the manufacturing resale price. So, basically, tell them, take a flying leap. I said, sure, there are very few people who will actually pay that because they're desperate, but not a lot of them are among, the people you find here.
So Pat, thanks for the demo. You think you might have time next week for an update, or how's it going?
Next week, I believe I have time for an update.
Cool.
Saturday, I don't think I'll make the meeting because I'm going to be on the road again, but to go pick up my wife, who I've got to go pick her up in Southern Ontario.
Well, we wish you luck in all those endeavors then.
Thank you.
So next in queue, we had Chris, and then Kareem, if you wanted to raise that question about Saturday. But we had Chris in line first, and then we have, anyone want to get in line after Kareem?
I do.
Who?
Ray.
Ray of No Power Man. Okay.
Yep.
Tornado Power. Okay. So
Shadow
Chris,
Man.
Shadow Man. Chris, you're up.
All right. Can you hear me?
Good to see you back.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So along the lines of buying before you truly need something, sort of in that spirit, I have a tool update. So early Christmas present for myself. I bought myself a tool. Now, for the most part, I'm able to get away with my little $15 logic analyzer. So 80% of the time, that's good enough. But for I2C and those sort of things. Well, I didn't really have anything for analog. I have some old, some 25-year-old oscilloscope that is just too bulky to even put on my desk. So I needed something for analog, and I've been going in circle for a while. I know in this call, we've been talking about. I remember, Carl, you recommended something at one point, and so I've been going in circles a little bit as to what exactly to get, but eventually I made a decision. So let me just show. It came down in the end to, let's see if the sharing works, to 3 different types of devices that were in the sort of a shootout of the 3. And I kind of had to decide between, it was down in the end to something like this, and it comes in different flavors, right? This is a 2-channel analog, 16-channel digital, and the compelling thing for this one is it's cheap, right? This is like $80 or something like that.
Yeah, didn't we get one of those for somebody, or didn't the club get one of those for a club?
The club got one of those for Jack for his high school graduation. That model.
Oh, nice. So it's it looked interesting because it's cheap. You can't really go that wrong for $80, and because it does both analog and digital in one device, and it's USB based, so your computer is the screen, etc. So that was one strong contender. Now the downside is, okay, so it's got only a 20 megahertz analog bandwidth, so you're down to sort of, realistically speaking, 4 megahertz analog signal will come through, clean, and at some point it's just gonna get attenuated more and more, right? So but maybe that's good enough, but barely. So that's the downside with that one. But strong contender, and it's small, right? So it doesn't really add a lot of space requirements to my bench. Now, okay, there you go. Carl has something similar. I know you've shown it.
This is its grandfather version. I've used it for years.
It's same company? Is it a Handtech also, or something?
It's a Handtech, yeah. They lifted the UI from a Tektronix 30 or 40 years ago, I think. But
okay. So that was a strong contender. Now the other strong contender, although really not that great from a sort of performance point of view, but the form factor really for a moment, I was really sort of leaning towards this because hey, it doesn't use up any space, and you can troubleshoot something that's not even on your bench, right? You can take this handheld thing, to where your gadget is that you're trying to troubleshoot. So it comes in actually in terms of analog performance. If it's as advertised, actually it has a pretty good analog bandwidth. Now it does only analog, and it does sort of multimeter thing. It doesn't do any sort of logic analyzer thing, but that's fine. I have another tool for that. So that was it was really, again, interesting because of its small form factor, right? You can really take it to if you are in an outing or something with your robot, you could take this with you, right? And troubleshoot something. And then the other contender was sort of just your traditional.
And that's false advertising. There's no such thing as worry-free testing. Being worried is why you're testing it.
No, again, that was I didn't mean to say worry-free testing. I did.
But that's what the ad said.
Oh, that was the ad said, worry-free testing. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay. That the translations on this website are not that great. This is Chinglish, so might be part of it. You're right. There's no worry-free testing. And so the third contender was your traditional oscilloscope.
Comes with a bottle of anti-anxiety meds or something. Makes you worry-free.
Yeah, it makes you worry less. So all kinds of recommendations out there in the different price classes. If you sort of go between 300 and 500, there's a lot of choices there between Reigal and Siglent and so on. But this was one contender. Of course, I have to think about how many channels do I want and bandwidth, and so that's what I was kind of bouncing back and forth around with Amazon and YouTube and watching all the videos, people talking about these three devices and close relatives.
Chris, are you married?
Yeah. Yes.
So you're just practicing on us, right?
No, I did make a purchase.
So there's definitely the white threshold.
This is the justification argument.
If it's under $200, usually it's okay, but
The
over
justification
$200.
is I can't take it with me anyway. What am I gonna do with all my money? So I can't take it with me. And it's Christmas, so that's the justification. And I have a real use case in terms of use cases, right? So again, most of the time, this is good enough for the digital stuff. Now, one use case I have is not so much robot related, but I finally managed to get it. I never have space left in my. But this is blurred. My parents had. You can't see this. Sorry, I got to turn the blurring off. This is a Commodore C16. So it's an antique. It was my second computer ever, and it was in storage in my hometown in Germany, and finally managed to get it over here. And I want to try to get it working again if I ever have the time. But so for that, I needed something with a little bit more analog support, and so I can even see what's going on the video output and so on. So I have at least one use case where I needed analog. And okay. So it came down in the end to make a call here. And again, this has been long. Again, I've been on and off, sort of trying to figure out what should I get, and I just had to pull the trigger at some point. And in the end, I pulled the trigger on this one right here. So I did splurge a little bit, and I did delete the Amazon notification email sort of very quickly as they came in. But it's I literally just got it today, so I barely know how to use it. Still have to figure it out. But that's what I in the end decided to get, even though it's not that portable. I really again like this sort of mobility aspect of those other two. But in the end, I said, okay, I'm not gonna. This is gonna be my last oscilloscope. I'm probably gonna purchase, unless it dies. And so might as well just go, yeah. But just splurge slightly. I spent slightly more than I technically have to, Usually I'm buying the cheapest thing that might be able to do the job, but I decided, okay, let me get something slightly better. I also need to use it or plan to use it for work-related things, so I can continue working from home, more effectively. So that's another reason, and
Yeah.
so that's what I decided to get.
Good.
For your
Chris,
birthday, you
Chris,
can get the next one down on the list.
Sorry,
What's
said
that?
it again.
For your birthday, you can get the next one on the list.
Yeah, I mean, look, Amazon has a good return policy. If I come to the conclusion that this wasn't worth its money, I'll return it, and then I might, this would be the next one down the list.
Chris, I think you made the right decision, and you'll be surprised how portable that is. You say it isn't. You'll find out. I move mine around all the time, and I don't have any regrets. Now mine's a
Which
Wrangle,
one do you have?
I have a Wrangle, but if I were, I bought mine about 4 or 5 years ago, so I can't really say what's current the best thing to have. You won't use the 4 channels all the time, but when you need 4 channels, it comes in great. And some of them, I don't know about this one, but it looks like this one might actually have a built-in logic analyzer.
Well, that's an option, and it's a pricey option, so it's unlikely an option that I'm going to exercise.
Okay, I didn't get that. I didn't get that with mine. But the other thing that's kind of cool is you can, when you want to capture a screen, you can just stick in a USB stick and capture it, and you can there's actually an app where you can plug this. If it's like the Wrangle, you can plug it in, and you can actually run it from your PC. Okay, but I don't really use that very much.
Yeah.
But I do capture images and use them when I'm trying to present and stuff. They're really helpful. The one thing I don't know about this one, but one thing I hate about, and I've run this on a couple of Chinese instruments. When we turn a knob counterclockwise, it's usually to increase the value. Okay.
It's like a faucet.
Right. And it seems like in these Chinese instruments, if you want to increase the value, you have to turn it clockwise. And that's constantly freaking me out. But other than that, I have no.
Oh no, usually clockwise is increasing.
No, maybe whatever it is, it's backwards. Okay.
Oh yeah, counterclockwise.
And, so I'm always, like I say, well, why is the time base getting shorter and shorter when it's supposed to be getting longer and longer? So but easy to get used to.
But I have to tell you, compared to the portability of the hand techs, for example, they are fantastic. But
as opposed to a tube scope that I have.
Well, but the thing is that you gotta dedicate a laptop screen. The last drivers I've seen weren't Windows hardware certified.
Oh.
Policy to install the drivers, and then there's something about having physical knobs and displays that are dead. Right, it's just there and it just works.
Yeah. And one reason I went with the 4 channels is that at least in the Siglent lineup, there's functionality you get that you just don't get with the 2 channels, such as the Ethernet connectivity and this web interface, which is pretty decent in the sense that the update rate is pretty decent, and you probably can't tell that on your end, but it's so fairly good representation of what's actually on the device, and you can see it with all the controls. So that's convenient. I like that. I'm still trying to figure out there's other software available for it that doesn't seem to be that great. I'm trying to also figure out how to use it from within Pulse View, right, which is the graphical front end for the little logic analyzer. Supposedly it's compatible with that. I haven't been able to get that to work, but again, so there's certain things that you just only get with the 4 channels. I don't think I'll need the 4 channels a lot, but sometimes, again, it's you do something like SPI. Well, you kind of have more than two signals to look at, and the thing that with the logic analyzer, right, the limitation of that is sometimes the signals are just not clean, right, and you're not gonna see that with the logic analyzer. That's the problem, right? It's the little $15 logic analyzer with that pulse view software, right? That front end to SIGROC, it's doing a fantastic job decoding I2C, you name it, anything, right? It decodes anything, but it won't tell you if the signal is clean or not, right? It could just be giving you garbage, and that's why. So I really needed something analog, because I do have some situations where I just don't know if I can even trust the output from the logic analyzer, because I don't know how clean the signal is. So,
if you want to go cheaper, or I think less than $150, I haven't priced them recently, but I have got this Hitscope, which basically plugs into your USB port. It's 2 analog channels or 8 digital channels, and it's up to, let's see, I was trying to look at the 2 analog channels, 20 ms per s.
Samples per second.
Mega samples. Oh, okay, yeah, up to 20 mega samples per second. So I use this all the time.
Yeah.
And so you get your analog and your digital for fairly cheap.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff out there in sort of fairly affordable price range. But in the end, I decided, okay, I want something with pretty decent performance. It does have a lot of sort of neat features. Not that I gonna need to use the decoder functionality a lot, but it does do UART decoding, I2C, CAN, SPI, so it can do all that as well. It's gonna be a little more clunky in setting that up than in a just strictly a software-based thing, but it can do all that and can trigger on things, use it as a trigger. It can do the TV signals, which again is one thing I'm gonna need to do for my troubleshooting my Commodore C16. So it's got built-in.
I was going to say, yeah, NTSC and
features
PAL
for NTSC and PAL, and I got a PAL thing. So I got to figure out what's going on with that. I did some modification back when I was a teenager. I upgraded the memory. I don't know. So something's not working anymore.
$400, $500?
$490 on Amazon, $489.
So do you have an NTSC or PAL TV anymore, Chris? Or
no, and yeah, so I don't even know. Well, but I have a TV that supposedly can be told to accept the PAL signal. It's not an old TV. It's an LED. It's a Samsung LED, but not a recent model, older model. That supposedly accepts a PAL signal. I mean, I've tried to connect it. I didn't get anything useful. So I don't know if that's because of the TV or because my Commodore is kaput. So that's what I need to figure out.
Have you checked if your new Siglin has? I know of it as peak detect mode, where it gives you a band, like a stock chart, where you get the high and the low during the sample period.
Don't know.
I found that as if you've never seen it before, that's been like almost a critical feature for me in digital signals. Because the normal just sample, let's see, max.
Oh, hey, Chris.
Peak detect, there it is, 51. Ha ha ha. That's an awesome mode. I highly recommend it if you've never tried it before.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little learning again. I haven't really used oscilloscopes extensively, at least not in a long time, and so I gotta really get acquainted with some of the features so I can actually take advantage of it.
Hey, Chris, I just thought about that. Some of the backup cameras for automobiles, those are still. I'm not. Well, I don't know about PAL over here. It's NTSC, but they're NTSC compatible little displays, and they're cheap. You can get them for under $20. They're not real big, but
Oh, that's a good point. Just you're saying, just get some small little NTSC display
yeah, like
that like display that
I
takes
think
sorry, a PAL input. Yeah. I probably should do
yeah,
that.
or security cameras. I think the ones that are kind of lower res or older still
Yeah.
would use that format. So
You might as well
Yeah.
say-
The thing basically works. I mean, people have built all kinds of add-ons for these old, 8-bit computers that allow you to then convert it into VGA and whatnot, and try to do a good job
yeah.
at capturing the signal, and they work with the, with the nuances of that signal, but so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to display it at some point once.
as long as we're going old school, you might as well find yourself an old CRT.
Well, I do have one. It's just so it's got a very very little bandwidth. It's not storage, right? They're not that useful unless you're displaying some very regular shaped signal, right? It's just not particularly useful. So I think you need a storage oscilloscope. Anything else, it's just I don't know how to troubleshoot anything without having some storage mechanism.
Well, congratulations.
That's the only update I had. I'll once I figured out how to use it, I'll provide another update. But that's that's all.
Cool. It'd be interesting to compare that to the Rigel. It seems like they're in a similar tier.
Yeah, there's this Rigal 1054Z or something is the model. I think that's some contender in that 350 to 400, 500 price range. There's a couple models from Rigal and Sigland.
It's kind of interesting that we're old enough now where your kids are going, "What's a cathode ray tube?"
I know.
Yeah.
Scary, man. Getting dated.
Yeah, one of the scopes that I have is it's an old Hitachi scope, and if I don't leave it plugged in, it takes like 5 minutes for something to appear on the tube. But if I leave it plugged in, it's like turn it on and it's instant. So something's being charged or kept warm or something. I don't know what in the CRT, but
Yeah, I got to wait for the diodes to warm up.
or something. I don't know. Yeah, tube heater or something. I don't know. But
Cool. I think next we had Kareem, and then Ray, and then open mic, or whoever. FT Gorilla guy in the corner, but Kareem, I think you've got the floor if you want to start.
I just want to thank all the DPRG crew who came out to the tournament last Saturday and helped with the judging. That was probably the best judging crew that we've had. I mean, fully staffed. I think, what do we have, Paul? 21, something like that. 20 judges. I mean, that was a lot. There was like three judges per panel, 6 panels going for the 26 teams that showed up, and I think it was a fantastic job and a really great service done to the to those kids. Sort of related to that, I don't know. There was this separate email conversation. I don't know if anybody wants to discuss anything that they saw on Saturday, but we could do that. We just have to be sure to be keeping references to the teams sort of anonymous, so that we don't like reveal any identities, because that's sort of like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas kind of
that's
thing.
right. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Those judging panels are supposed to be like somewhat confidential to those teams, right? They don't expect that other people are going to be publicly discussing what they've produced, but you can talk about their specific or like generally the kinds of mechanisms that they had available and how that applies to the competition, as you saw. And it's so I don't know if we're actually going to have any discussion about that tonight, but we could. The other tie-in is that We had been planning on my team, Iron Rain, presenting to DPRG for perhaps this monthly meeting, or we were thinking about the January monthly meeting, and Carl was recommending a little bit of both. You know, we don't want to take up too much of your bandwidth, but if there is interest to have a monthly meeting this coming Saturday, then my team could sort of give you an update demo of the robot as it is right now. I don't think they won't be ready for like any kind of formal presentation, but which is what they would probably be able to do better in the January meeting. But they could give you an update on their robot, and particularly for those who were part of last Saturday, you know, there might be some interesting comparisons that could be made, and you know, observations that could help, you know, my team sort of make better decisions about future directions. But so that's what we have on offer. Is we have the ability to. We spoke about taking up this Saturday's DPRG meeting, but not super ready for it. But we're happy to present if people want to chime in this Saturday, or we could skip it. You know, I don't know if there was anything else on the docket for.
I mean, from my view, we don't have anything else on the docket this month or next month. Although January we normally have the election, just the planning discussion, I guess. But what I was in my feedback to you, Kareem, I was for the benefit of the group, I was thinking that not only for the judges who might have been there last Saturday, but for both the team, the Iron Rain team, and for the club, I think it could be interesting to get a kind of in the thick of it readout now in December, if you're interested, and then in January, you know, after a mere 1 month and a couple, you know, nice winter's break, to look at the progress that was made in that time.
Yeah, there should be it all depends on who stays for the break and what kind of progress is made. But the big difference is going to be that, you know, presentation that we do this Sunday would be based on the current prototype robot, and the one in January hopefully would be the next version of the robot that is cut out of carbon fiber, and has a few more bells and whistles on it.
So how about a show of hand? Who would like to see both? I mean, the current snapshot in a month's time. Anyone else interested?
Maybe a better question is like, how many people actually want to participate in a meeting this Saturday?
There you go.
I see Paul.
Yeah, I would.
I see Doug. I see Ray.
You have 4 of us, 3 or 4 at least.
Small group.
Yeah.
We could do it that way. So we were going to do noon.
Yeah.
Or ask about January and see if the answer is different.
There you go. How many would rather just have one session in January where it's more baked and carbon fiber and stuff? Oh boy, we got some.
Yeah.
Okay. About the same.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you decide what to do with that, Carl.
Okay. Steve's raised his hand. We could get Steve to join. So,
January for the January meeting.
The January, not the one in this September. This
Saturday. I'm already busy doing stuff.
Already busy. Okay. Well, Kareem, if you want to get your team some feedback this Saturday, you've got a handful of people who will jump on.
Sounds great. We'll do it.
And Kareem, I do have okay, so now we've closed that item. I'll go back to your first question about I wondered if you could compare and contrast First Robotics with First Tech Challenge. I did read up and read about the amount of time for constructing and running the competition, money, team sizes, which are vastly different. But I think Iron Rain is in both. And someone No? Oh,
No,
okay.
no.
Someone at the Sunday meeting said those two are in competition. So I was just interested in your perspective on the two competitions.
So they're run by the same national outfit, and I would say that yes, they are somewhat in competition with each other, and to some degree they're really separate niches. So first robotics is the one that started first, and it is a larger robots. They can get 3 feet by 4 feet by 6 feet tall sometimes, and they're really zipping around this like quarter basketball court size field, and covered in carpet. And the original impetus behind that was that it was right. It was about getting professional engineers to have effectively some playtime, where as boys with their toys, they get a month in January, January and February timeframe, and they build some. It's actually got a limited 6-week build schedule, and then there's the competition season after that. And the whole idea was, people might take some time off of their work, professional engineers, and they would construct these toys, and the kids would sort of follow on in sort of apprentice style, right, and get exposure that way. And so it was the adults who were driving the design effectively. But it's a big budget thing. It's large scale, and the top teams have budgets. Some of them have a budget of about $100,000 a year, right? So there's a lot of corporate support for it. It's a big thing. The teams of kids can be up to 50 students. They can be these really large teams. But the problem is that the number of students who actually get their hands on the robot and are directly learning it, the technology details tends to be a very small core team. And the rest are like business enrolled in business development and fundraising and that kind of stuff. But that's somebody from the FTC side sort of characterizing it. I'm sure that they would characterize it differently. The FTC followed on later on, and the whole idea there is let's make it a lower budget, lower entry point, so you don't have to have these big dollars to compete. And but we'll give it a longer season, so it runs all the way from September through the competition season goes all the way into February usually, and then if you get to the advanced competition levels, it'll go all the way into March and April. So it's a longer competition season. The robots are smaller. They're limited in size, starting size, and sometimes weight, and certainly the power is lower, and it's generally safer. But there are some people who argue that you get more sophisticated things happening in FRC because of the scale and the professional engineers. But the very top teams in FTC are doing probably just the same level of complexity, maybe even more complex engineering, right? They have to make it all happen in a much smaller space. And so I think that there's plenty of stuff going on in both, and the programs are just tuned differently. 15 students maximum on an FTC team, and they get, the idea is that they get more hands-on time with the robot and sort of learn the engineering cycle over a longer period of time. So they do compete in that. Like I actually had a rule. We had an FRC team at our school, and my rule for the FTC teams was, if you're on the FRC team, fantastic. You're not on our team, because the FRC team, their season starts right in the middle of our competition season, right? So what happens is those kids lose focus. They drift off to the big robots, and then you lose them right when you need them. And so that just doesn't work for a high competition FTC team. So some of the FRC teams use FTC as a training ground, and then they intentionally sort of bow out of the. And a lot of the teams that you saw on Saturday, that league was actually formed of teams that are likely to go more FRC, right? So some of them won't actually continue onto the regional championship. Even though they've sort of earned berths there, some of them might not really take advantage of that.
Really, they'll just like exit out of the FTC contest and start on an FRC robot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. How do they?
Yeah.
How do you build a robot as big and complex as those FRC robots in a month?
This
And
is where the
still
money
be-
comes in, right? Because there's a lot of outsourcing. I think it's pretty common to do a lot of, a lot of CAD, CAM, that kind of stuff ahead of time, just like we do. But because of the time schedules involved, sometimes they will outsource to a manufacturer to actually produce the parts for them, and then they focus on assembly. And sometimes that budget is cash straight out to a fabrication shop, and sometimes it's more some in kind that they get, like the fabrication facilities of like a nearby big manufacturing group, like Bell Helicopter or something like that.
I'm thinking that
Well,
it must be mostly built by people who have a lot of time during the day, not necessarily high school students who have to attend school all the time, because that's a lot of work to assemble something of that scale. And
It is a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. There's
Are they?
sophisticated robots. You saw that there were some pretty sophisticated robots even in
yep, well, yeah,
FTC, right? And
yeah, right.
yeah,
And the time frame for FT doable to me.
right.
A month doesn't seem doable for something that's.
Well, are they restricted from doing that in that time period, or can they do all kinds of work outside the time period and just,
They can
assemble it?
they can prepare ahead of time, so they can do things like standard chassis, right? And then it's really about the mods that are specific, because they don't find out until like sometime in late January is when they find out, or mid-January, where they find out what the challenge is for the year, right?
Mhm.
And then their 6 weeks build season starts from that point on. But they'll have been, sort of training up some of the kids through an FTC program, and they will also have had a separate team probably working on their standard chassis, and then they find out what the challenge is, and they get to modifying it as fast as they can.
Wow.
And then do all of the competition rounds happen as well as the mods in that 6-week period?
No, the 6 week is the build length, and then the competition follows upon that. And then they're allowed to continue making some modifications after the competition season has commenced. They used to have a pretty strict rule about, like if you had a remote competition, you have to ship the robot by a certain date before the competition, and it basically stays in shrink wrap until like the day of the competition. And you have so many days ahead of the competition that you got to have it, on the site of wherever that competition is going to be. So it's pretty highly choreographed and controlled. But I think that I heard that they were sort of relaxing some of those rules. Like you didn't have to have it there quite as far in advance as you used to, and things like that.
Thanks for that context.
Sure. My understanding of FRC is all like secondhand, third hand. I've seen the robots that they've done at our school, but we've been lucky, and we've had like more like competitive success in the FTC program. It's really hard to sustain the kind of funding levels that you need to have a successful FRC program, and that's not my area of expertise at all.
Thanks.
Pretty well.
Sure. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and present this Saturday.
Yeah.
to whoever is able to join in, and we'll see you
I'll
then.
put a meet out up tomorrow, and Doug, if you could post it on Robbie, and then we can just sort out January as we get closer, I guess.
Okay. Sounds
And
good.
You're muted, Doug.
Kareem, did you guys pick up any lessons from this Saturday?
My
Did you get-
teams, I would say my my junior teams had we're paying really close attention, and they were certainly picking up some ideas. I don't know if they'll have a chance to implement anything terribly different from the direction that they were already going in prior to our next tournament is like the week after we will be presenting to you in January. And so it's going to be a pretty tight, schedule for them. So yeah, they certainly noticed some interesting things. There was one robot that had, it had a lift, but it also had a horizontal arm, right? They were looking at that, wondering if that was, a direction that they wanted to go. I don't think that there were a lot of, did you see any robots there that had turrets?
We did have. They had one. They had two things that were okay. They had the one that went over to the side. All right. There was another one which could rotate 90 degrees in one direction or 90 degrees in the other. So you literally could face three directions. So that probably was a turret. Okay. And then they had another one that actually they had one that was a specialized arm that if it could pick up a fallen cone. So if a cone was falling, it would run into the cone, pick it up, slap it up, and then it would go up. But it couldn't go to the top, to the highest one, but it could go to the second midterm. And that was independent of their main gripper. So there were some really interesting ideas there. One of the things that I saw was how they guaranteed one team, the one that had the arm that went over to the side, had a real good way to keep extension cables tied to, you stick a servo extension cable into the other one. Well, you know what happens eventually, and you got to think. So what they were doing is they were using 3 tie wraps. So one tie wrap around each side of the extension cable and the non-extension cable. And that was pretty loose, but it did provide some stress relief. But then when they stuck it together, they put a third one through those loops and tied it together. And then it was easy to change because you just cut one. You don't lose all 3. You only lose one.
Right.
And it was, but I thought that was I'll probably borrow that idea. So
there are off-the-shelf servo, the DuPont triple connector.
Yeah.
There are off-the-shelf clips that keep them connected together.
I need to find them then because
those are
I use
great.
tape.
Those are fantastic.
Right now I use tape.
Yeah, no, that doesn't work so well. These just like slide right on and clip right over them, and they're just great.
Yeah.
And so you don't actually have to cut them to take them back off again, but
Yeah.
they hold really well.
Where would I find those, Kareem?
Rev sells them. Rev Robotics, right?
Okay.
You can also find them on Amazon. Just search servo retention clip.
What do they call it? Servo tension clip?
Servo retention clip, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
And this thing on Saturday was called a CNN tournament. What does a CNN mean?
See, the CNN is just the names of the 2 leagues that were going into the structured as a league is about 15 to 18, maybe 20 teams that all compete against each other in 3 different meets. And those don't have any judging. It's just pure robot games. And then for a tournament, 2 of those leagues combine into that tournament. So it was the C League and the versus the N League, or the C League and the N League together. And so that's the reason it was called that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So our tournament will be in January, very end of January, and it will be called the DU League or the UD League, whatever. Because the they're just a letter for the name of the league. That's all.
Yeah. It was a really neat experience. It really was, and meeting all those sharp young kids and with bright ideas and bright young minds and eager. It was
Lots of energy. Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty neat.
They're differing levels of the ability to present their ideas.
Yeah.
But you can see the wheels turning in their minds, and they're all learning at a pace.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to see, and you can come away with some pretty interesting ideas. I don't know that my varsity team is going to necessarily. They'll probably take away some lessons around reliability of some of the robots that we saw out there. But they have a design that we haven't seen elsewhere yet. There are probably going to be some out there, but they still got a long way to go in terms of making it repeatable, reliable, accurate. Accuracy is probably the biggest issue that my varsity team is facing. So you'll see some of that on Saturday, what they're struggling with.
Yeah. Another thing I noticed on a lot of the teams, this seemed to be a small percentage, but they seem to be pretty adamant about its need. They were shielding the Mecanum wheels so that other robots, when they run into them, don't screw them up. So a lot of them had little shields around their Mecanum wheels. So anyway,
that's interesting. I actually have one of my teams does not have any shielding on the outside of their Mecanum wheels.
Yeah.
And to me, the bigger issue is more that with the shielding you get, it's support on both sides of the wheel.
Yeah.
Right. If it can become a structural shield, then it helps to prevent twist or bending in the axle, right? Unless you happen to have a very thick, solid axle between the two wheels. But that's what my teams tend to do. So they have a very rigid axle, and so they don't necessarily have to have something on the outside. So the Mecanums can get hung up on other robots sometimes, and I guess that might be better to have a shield.
Yeah.
So generally we'll do that also. And for example, the team that will be presenting on Saturday, they don't have a Mecanum. It's just a regular differential drive robot. Which is unusual at this point, right?
Right. We did hear one team say they were going from Mecanum to differential, but most of them are Mecanum.
We started doing Mecanum about 7-8 years ago, something like that. Maybe even earlier. And then we drifted away because Mecanums are very well suited to that field, right? Tile, it's a very regular surface. It's very, very even and flat. It's a perfect environment for Mecanums, and sometimes they have vertical challenges where Mecanums are not necessarily or could have some problems. This year there's those ground junctions that Mecanums can get a little bit hung up on, but generally it's not an issue, and it's a great thing. But I tell my teams that even though it's really, really easy to go into Mecanums, it's funny to say easy, but for us, we've been doing it for a while, and now it's the default. Almost all of the teams are doing Mecanums, right?
What this group needs to know
it's not real world.
What type of wheels are suitable for horse apples?
For what? For horse apples. Exactly. Yeah, mechanums are not real world, right? There's very limited environments where they're helpful. If you're doing some warehouse operations, maybe. Um, but even in warehouse operations, most of those robots are not using mechanums. They'll do something else. And so I tell my teams, if you want to start applying this right away when you get into college and beyond, you probably need to look at things that work better in the real world, and their differential drive robots or for slow speeds are the common thing. There's a reason, right? They can get around outdoors and things like that.
That was the horse apple joke. That was an inside joke for all.
No, I saw the competition. Yeah.
Yeah, for those people who haven't seen the competition, that's what
Oh,
unexpected hazard was, the horse apple minefield.
Yeah. But nobody was running mechanums in that field, right? So that was a regular. Was that Ray's robot that got hung up on that?
Yeah.
On those? Yeah.
Yeah.
He had the benefit of getting far enough that he could get hung up.
Mm-hmm.
The others of us didn't even get that far. So.
And you alluded to having a varsity team. I thought this was just high school, but is there a group, like age group, that's above high school?
No. So varsity in the high schools, right? There's if you think about normal sports, there's like soccer would have a junior varsity level, and then they'd have a varsity level. So the varsity would be more of the seniors and the more the stronger players, right? That's all that means, right? And we just sort of adopted that language to differentiate between basically we have two teams that act as feeder teams to the varsity team.
An American use of the word varsity. Sorry.
Yes, this is how Americans talk about high school sports, junior varsity and varsity.
So speaking of Mechanum, Wheels Drone Bot Workshop, I believe, dropped an hour and a half of video of Mechanum wheels things on it. And I do really like Drone Bot, but I really have to speed him up, man. That's all there is to it. That's all I want to say.
Was he droning on?
Oh, really? No, not him. No, but it's an hour and a half video, and it's all Mechanum, and I didn't even hit the play button because I just knew I wasn't ready for him at the moment.
Especially for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Play it in high speed.
Yeah. Fast.
You actually end up figuring out being able to hear it faster too.
Yeah.
It just takes a little practice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, cool. I think next in queue we had Tornado Powerman Ray and then Open Mike. So Ray, how's it going? Aside from no
I think
power,
we lost Ray. I think I saw him disappear.
he came back.
Oh, there he is.
He hasn't got it. You're muted,
His audio
Ray.
is still lagging. Though.
Ray, you're muted.
Okay,
There it
gotcha.
is.
Ray, you look like you're on one of those ghost busting programs.
Yep.
He's got a flashlight in front of him or a
Yeah,
candle.
I got my headlight on and everything. Okay, we'll see if this works.
DPRG survival mode.
Prepper.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I saw this a couple days ago. It's actually another SciPe project. I'm really impressed by the things that they do and the prices that they ask for things. It seems like they should ask for double on some of them. Anyway, there's the A010, and I think it's the I don't know if it's a 075, but there's a kind of a more involved sensor. It's got more features. This one I think is like, I don't know, $25 or something. It is basically a 3D sensing camera. The resolution is less. This one is only 100 by 100. It does have an LCD on the back of it. You can get it without the LCD. Anyway, so just like, you know, the Arducam would, this one, you can reduce the resolution down to 25 by 25 if you want. It's, from what I understood about it, it's actually averaging the distances in the, you know, in a like 4 pixel blocks if you go that, you know, that small of a resolution. Anyway, they have a more or less a GUI for it. You know, you can look at the bitmap on your, you know, on your computer if you want. They weren't real clear about how the data comes out of it. And I think you can look at, you know, you can just hook it up with USB if you want. Or it has a serial, like a UART connection here, which is kind of neat, I thought. And you can, you know, with fairly high baud rates, you can get all the data out of the camera. And as far as I can tell, you can look at the whole depth map and select regions in the depth map as, you know, in the stream that's output by the device. Anyway, and there's some things on the display. I don't know if they have a blow up of it or not. Okay, maybe further back. Don't mean to make you nauseous by flipping through things so quickly here. Let's see if there is one. Nope, not in this. Anyway, they had some information on the top of the screen, the distance where the cursor was. It's too small, can't read it. Anyway, so they had some information on top of the screen and then the
Hit
actual.
the corner button, Ray. Blow it up.
Oh, okay. This.
Nah, I guess not. Oh, there it is.
Still can't really see it though.
Okay.
Nope. Anyway, whoop, got right out of it. I thought it was kind of neat for the price. Basically, it's a, you know, depth map camera for about $25. You know, low enough resolution that, you know, it's probably usable indoors. Oh yeah, here's the A75.
How much is it, Ray?
I want to say it's around $25. We could probably look at the SciPede website. This is actually the wiki. This one goes for close to 100, and it has it's got an RGB camera, whereas the other one does not. It does depth, you know, depth sensing. It does it at a greater resolution. I think it's 320 by 240. And it's also got like LEDs for illumination. But this one is, you know, much more capable. It can show you a, God, I forgot what that's called. Where all you're looking at all the individual depth readings. Oh, yeah, kind of like a point cloud. I guess it's a point cloud.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's, you know, it's a lot more capable than.
Wow. What is the resolution?
On this one, it's 320 by 240. On the other one, it's 100 by 100. But this setup is about $100, and the other one was $25, roughly.
$25 with a display. It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I say. You know, some of the stuff from SciPede, it seems like it's, you know, very cheap.
Yeah. This sounds like they're trying to compete with Audicam.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Bodycam, you figure is $50. It doesn't have a display, but it has the higher resolution.
Right.
So it'd be interesting.
Well, in the smaller one, you could just hook to a serial port on a, and look at the depth map that way. So you don't need a Raspberry Pi or
Right.
something else. Showed several applications. This is like a top-down view. They're looking at people's heads basically. You could look at a colorized depth map. What else? Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing, calculating volumes of boxes or blobs, but maybe it is. You can use it with ROS. So
ROS 1.
Yeah, I thought they said ROS 1 and ROS 2, but maybe it is just ROS 1. But yeah, there's using ROS 2. Okay.
So, Ray, did you get one of these, or are you thinking to?
I thought with all the interest in the ArduCam, it just kind of came across it and thought, if for the functionality and the price, I thought it looked kind of neat. So, but I have not bought one yet. So,
I'm sorry. Did you say what the range is on that?
I want to say it's like 2.5 meters. I think they had a chart comparing.
What is the AudiCam?
I thought it was you could go to 4 meters.
The AudiCam said I heard 4 on the AudiCam when he was talking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that it was far enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking that I got the AudiCam with the idea that I could put it on a rover. So.
Yep. Let me see if I can find.
Yeah, and y'all suckered me into buying an ArduCam time of flight sensor. I just went and did it. It's just too cool not to have.
Yeah.
Makes sense. 10. Yeah. Let's see if they include the price. Yeah, this is basically the same thing. Got me back to the wiki. Anyway, thought it was kind of neat.
That's Seed Studio, right? SciPede?
Yeah, it's like this one is wikiscipede.com.
Yeah, but
so
that's actually Maxi. Same people make Maxi, right?
Yeah. In fact, this is the what I just looked up, Max Sense A010 or A10, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was kind of neat.
Cool.
But for what it is, it seems pretty cheap. And if you wanted to measure depth on an indoor robot, it's probably work real well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let's see if the Hackaday. Yeah, I actually saw the one on my phone. This may be it. Yep, there you go. This is what I thought Carl was interested in here.
Oh yeah.
Carl,
yeah. Trash bag and foam board. Yeah.
Yep. Covered. But looks like he actually got it floating around, so
they're fun. At least they've always attracted me. But.
Yep, there you go. You've got a fellow enthusiast out there on Hackaday. So
yeah, somewhere, yeah.
Anyway. That was all I had.
what is that? A trash bag, foam board, baling wire, and duct tape? Isn't that a Carl thing?
It sounds that way, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yep. Anyway,
I actually saw a sci-fi short the other day on YouTube that had it was a hover car, but it was a 50s era hover car. So it had the really curvy body, but it was floating. Wasn't using air though. It was using anti-grav apparently.
oh, anti-gravity. Wow, that's a lot more complex.
But still, the images were kind of amusing because it showed this guy out in the Route 66 in the west, right, leaning on his hovercraft 50s era looking car, with just a shadow underneath, nothing underneath it. So it was Back to the Future, Marty McFly, but in the 50s. It's pretty interesting.
Huh.
Amusing combination.
Yep.
And the movie was done out of France, so it was a really interesting subtitle thing.
Parlez-vous français, huh?
About Route 66. Who'd have expected that? Okay. Well, that was the end of our planned queue. In the meanwhile, has anyone come up with some other items you want to throw into the mix tonight? Open mic time? Nope.
I was thinking about that inverted axis problem. It was kind of ringing some bells here with me about a problem I was working on. There are some functions that don't necessarily put the X and Y coordinates in effect. Like if you're in Python using the video stream class and you want to get the size of the frame, the results come back with the height of the frame being the first variable and the width being the second. So it'd be the Y, and X. So you have to be cognizant of that. But that's the only case that I could think of at the moment. I thought I had seen other cases like that.
So did Pat try it without, just the example, even though the image wasn't the way he wanted it? Did that work? Or was the depth field still, or depth measurement still screwed up?
No, he said if he tried it, out of the box, a sample out of the box, unmodified, it did not generate the correct results.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm working on that. I'm looking at the difference between when you extract an image as a numpy array, and when you look at the numpy mean function. So what's the difference in the two axes, axis 0, axis 1? So essentially your XY coordinates. So on the numpy mean array, your axis 0 is, and I don't want to lie to you guys, so axis 0 is, I believe, I lost the page I had it on.
Didn't mean to speak of you in the third person. I thought maybe you weren't still here.
No, I was sitting there listening, but no, I can't find it. So axis 0 was row and axis 1 was column, I believe. I just had it.
So row would be the Y coordinate.
Yeah, so I've been playing around and I've reversed the X and Y to see if it made a difference when I was selecting, and no, it's worse. At least I could find it the other way. I could find it in the opposite corner. So I'm still working on it.
You'll get it.
Serious transmorgification, I think.
Yeah, so basically I was displaying where my cursor was. So, and that's what I'm trying to figure out now is where should it be? So where is 00? Where is, 180, 240?
All right. Well, a completely unrobotic topic. I was wondering if any of you guys are using the Amazon Key service for deliveries.
Amazon which?
Well, Amazon Key service is. I just had my old garage door opener stopped working, and I just had a new one installed, and it came with, or at least suggested the 2D barcode that you can look up and install an app to open your garage door from your cell phone. Well, that also set me up for Amazon Key delivery. Driver for when you order on Amazon, once you install this, when you go to Amazon and place an order, there's a new option for delivery. Under the new delivery option says Amazon Key, which basically means an Amazon driver can open your garage door.
Yikes.
Put the package in the garage. So you defeat the package thieves. But I thought, I didn't realize I was installing that. That was a consequence. I didn't know what. I was just in a hurry to get it done. It's like, oh, this Amazon Key. And then I had to think about it. I said, do I want just anybody I don't know, even if they are an Amazon employee, just to be able to open a garage door?
No.
I decided, no, I'm a little too paranoid. I'm sorry. So I had Amazon remove me from the service, but I had to jump through hoops to do it.
Yep.
I could only do it by getting a live person on the phone to get them to take that off.
I highly doubt an Amazon employee is going to verify that the garage door closed on its way around the corner of your street.
Well, see, that's the thing. If you read, you go to their FAQ, and they say, well, what happens if the garage door doesn't close? Well, they say the rule is the Amazon driver has to call a garage door service technician, and he has to wait there until the technician arrives. Well, but then I thought, well, what if the failure happens after normal business hours? You don't expect your driver to stay all night, do you?
Do you have to feed him while he's waiting?
That's right. Yeah. Lodging.
Well, I mean, I assume this one of the use cases is, you have a delivery, you can take a delivery when you're out of town. But if you're out of town, if you hit these probably very rare instances of garage door fails, they can't do it overnight. Your worst case scenario is somebody comes in and robs you blind. Maybe not the Amazon driver, but whoever he leaves the door open for. So I decided, well, the cost of failure is just simply too high. So
maybe they can deliver you a security guard.
What's that?
There you go.
And they could deliver you a new garage.
I just have my neighbor say, hey, Amazon's coming to deliver something. Can you pick it up off the porch?
Yeah.
Yeah, this seems like it would be more valuable to someone who lives somewhere where package thievery is more common.
It's fairly common.
It's pretty common.
It all boils down to, why does your thermostat need a camera? It's like, aren't they invasive enough without having to find another way to get invasive into my house?
Hey, well, we can keep going with that. It's like, why do I need a cell phone app to keep my coffee warm? They got those.
Yeah, but my wife swears by that one now, John. She's got one of those cups that, you set the temperature on it and you carry it around it's battery operated and it stays warm all day, and she loves it, So
net for that.
Yeah. I have it's a Genie Aladdin Connect, and apparently Genie can get online and open the garage door with that thing. And I was like, nope, don't want it. So never use that remote. I hooked it up to my security system.
All these places, you find out they store all this stuff with your address and your name and your stuff with your password or your key code in the clear.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
I love
No, they got hacked and everything was in the clear. There was nothing encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, that's my fear is that the more stuff they make controllable with apps, the greater the risk that some hacker will discover an exploit and really do you some real damage.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that I was in a Walmart parking lot a couple of weeks ago, and they were test driving drone delivery, and they had one of these drones out there, and it was a 10-pound payload drone, and that thing was not to be messed with. I mean, it's a chunky beast, right? Counter rotating propellers had, I think, 4 or 6 of them. You know, we had propeller sides powering it, and unfortunately, right now, they're talking about drone delivery and all that kind of stuff. Well, here's a big problem with the drone delivery. Currently, the way the FAA has this is that you have to have somebody with eyes on the drone as it's delivering it for it to be delivered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, there's a long way. And I was asking him about, so this has got obstacle avoidance stuff, and he goes like, well, no, not really. And I'm like,
yeah, how many ways can get this go wrong?
Yeah, I've got 6 spinning blades of death, because you know those are some carbon fiber props on those things, and I mean we used to have I think we called them air screws at the time that were on my RC planes back in the days, and they'd chew you up in a heartbeat if you got crossways with them. I can't imagine this is all spinning at 30,000 RPMs, and it has 12 of them at you, you know. Yeah.
This
10-inch
idea
props.
will last as long as it takes for a serious injury or death to happen, and then nobody will try it ever again.
Yeah, that would not be one. I wouldn't want to have that particular task in my as my job right now, because I got a feeling that all you'd be doing is finding out how to make a nice drone for for dropping grenades or something. So I can't imagine in a civilian behavior. Can you imagine one of these guys? Because the guy's going to have to. The idea is the driver goes to a neighborhood and he pulls out his drone and doesn't have to drive around the neighborhood because the drone's putting it in all the different houses.
Well,
I think that's going to be pretty slow. It's going to be slower than the guy just driving to the different houses. You know what I'm saying? It'd be better to spend your time in routing software. You know, what's the optimal route? I don't see that really being maybe in an apartment building.
I could be wrong. You know, I mean, at one time I was pretty skeptical about self-driving cars. I'm still somewhat skeptical that the public at large is willing to give up control. And that there won't be failure modes that eventually become too expensive to continue with.
Yeah.
But hey, they're pushing it.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, even something as simple as adaptive speed control still makes my heart race. You know what I mean? You know, because on that idea is you just set your cruise control at some speed, like 75 or whatever, and, you know, it slows down when it gets traffic in front of it. And, you know, every time usually you find yourself stuck behind some slow, watched your own speed, and you're down to 55 miles an hour, and it's because you're behind some guy you haven't passed, you know. But sometimes when you're coming up on somebody and they switch into you, and it's pretty exciting there for a few seconds. I've never had it fail, but, you know, scary. So
and the thing is, I understand the logic behind it is the self-driving cars. The technology right now is such that, yes, you will probably have fewer accidents, almost certainly fewer accidents with self-driving cars, because let's face it, you know, there's always some people that are just plain stupid drivers, right?
Yeah.
You know, careless and stupid drivers. And so, yeah, the transportation will be definitely safer. But think about how people are afraid of flying. Even by any measure, flying is safer than driving in a car.
Yeah.
The only reason that people won't accept the risk is because they are not in control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Kareem, can you look at that link I sent in and see if that's what you were talking about? Yeah, I don't know, John. I think, if everybody was driving, had self-driving cars, everybody had self-driving cars, I think it would be safer. The problem is the idiot that just, 3 lanes of traffic and did something, been weaving back and forth for the last 2 miles. He's not going to be self-driving. He's going to be driving himself because he's, like you said, he's trying to beat the system. He's not going to go along with the system. He's trying to beat it. And so you're going to be sitting there in your car doing what's reasonably safe. And he's going to be the ping pong ball that's trying to screw everybody up. And I don't know.
Well, there's going to be there will always be some situation in where there's no right answer, and it's raised some real moral questions.
Yeah.
They talk about scenarios where something happens and the car cannot reasonably stop in time, and the car must decide between hitting a person and killing them or hitting a brick wall and killing you. All right, and so they've actually toyed with this idea of letting users set a level of altruism that their car operates by. Would you rather have a car that's more likely to save you or more likely to save a potential other victim?
I don't understand it. If I take my car and I drive over you on purpose, I'm going to be manslaughter or whatever. But I jump in my self-driving car and it runs over you. I'm not at fault because the car is self-driving, and it becomes, well, the software programmers aren't at fault because they're protected by whatever. And so it's nobody's fault.
Well, the way that all of your self-driving cars currently, to my knowledge, that are currently on the road, the legal agreement that the product agreement or whatever, your agreement with the company you buy it from, is that you are, regardless of what the car does, you are legally responsible to maintain control of the car.
Yep.
I don't think that there's any car on the road that does not have completely full, what they call level 5 automation, to where, you're not responsible at all. I mean, there's all the lawyers have basically written it in black and white. You are still responsible for what the car does.
I don't think it's a function of the lawyers so much as the National Highway and Safety Traffic. It's the NHTSA. Yeah. I mean, the lawyers are writing that so that the manufacturers can keep going, because NHTSA won't. I believe that's codified in law or regulation.
Okay.
Which is why you see it then in legalese.
So I want to see what happens when they do have a full self-driving car, like you say, level 5, and they bring it up here in the snow and the ice. No, you're going down the highway at 100 kilometers an hour or 80 kilometers an hour with no lane markings. Some days, no tire tracks if you're the first guy out in the morning.
There's a perfect case there of why the self-driving car is going to probably be a lot safer, because you see these videos of these 100-car pileups because everybody's still driving at full speed in a whiteout. It's just the average driver up there just thinks they're an Andretti, and they.
You should also try taking a Texan up there and asking them to operate the car.
That's right.
the self-driving car is going to do better.
The difference
I think
is
the self-driving car and the Texan will do the same thing. They'll both pull over and wait for it to warm up. And everyone's going to freeze.
I may be driving at 80 or 90 kilometers an hour or 55 miles an hour down a highway with that's snow covered, snow packed with no lane markings, but I'm also not following another vehicle at 20 or 30 feet behind them. There's 300 feet between me and the vehicle in front of me.
Yeah, well, definitely here in Dallas Fort Worth, it's very hard to find anybody that's following the right distance for their speed.
I'm going south this weekend, and exactly that. You're doing 70 miles an hour down the highway, and you're 20 feet behind the car in front of you. There is no reaction.
Because one thing that at least I do as driving is that there's a stupid driver detector that's always active in my brain, and when there's any wind of a stupid driver detector showing up in the rearview mirror or anywhere in the vicinity, I mean, I take active avoidance maneuvers, and I maintain. I mean, it's not just the standard void space. I maintain void lanes, right? Void miles, because I keep in mind in my little state estimate, where is that stupid driver right now, and where is he going to be in 30 seconds? Because those stupid drivers, when they do something, right, it's not
just stupid drivers. I do the same thing, but I make it a point of never staying in the lane right next to an 18-wheeler, because they have limited options in what they can do, with that big massive truck when something happens. So I give them plenty of room.
So I wonder how long until the self-driving algorithms take these kinds of heuristics into their planning.
They already are.
Are they?
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, I hear a lot of naysaying in the group about self-driving cars, but I'm seeing just incredible amounts of progress. I gotta caveat it. It's still the things that get presented by these companies. So my team spoke with Waymo recently.
All right.
And they have a facility here in South Dallas now for their big truck fleets. So they're trying to roll up some testing along some routes through south basically on I-20. And talking about creating big hubs, and it's just amazing some of the progress that they're showing. And same thing with Tesla. If you look at the Tesla AI Day and stuff like that, if you actually take the trouble to look through their entire presentation, get past the Elon stuff, and see what the engineers are actually talking about, and the kinds of problem sets that they're facing and how they're tackling them. I mean, the rate of progress is just tremendous. And so, I think it'll be held up more by legalese than by and just cultural acceptance than it will be by the technology will be not solved, but it'll be in again that state where it is safer on average to go with self-driving vehicles than to rely on what people will do. And as far as the acceptance goes, the younger generations are going to accept this way faster than the people that I'm seeing around here right now. It's my kids don't even want to learn to drive. They're just waiting for self-driving cars to come along.
That's right. Well, I don't know if y'all read about one of the first Tesla self-driving fatalities, if not the first. I don't know if it was basically the car got confused. Basically, the car ran into the side of an 18-wheeler crossing in front of the guy. Yep. Well, it turns out that the side that the trailer was painted light blue, and it just sort of blended in with the sky. And so the AI didn't even see it; just kept going.
I'm with Kareem on this point. Actually, I'm with you, Kareem, because I mean we have a Model Y for now a little over a year, and it is the pace is the 2 points you made. The one is about the pace, and there's a major upgrade to this thing every few months, And it is a measurable difference that you get each time, a measurable improvement. Things that was really wonky on the last release, most of them, or a lot of them, will just get somehow incrementally better on the next release. But from the acceptance point of view, I just find that is it just because of the time I've spent driving myself, or my expectations, or the discussions we have in this group about what can go wrong? How on earth could you design around that? For whatever reason, when I get behind the wheel and I put it in full self-driving beta mode, I just feel like I'm constantly having to keep my eyes on a 16-year-old driver, because I'm acutely aware that all of that legally. I mean, when you look at the dashboard for the release notes, I mean, it's not just like, oh, added a new button, made this better. It is a detailed, changed this categorizer, updated this recognizer, changed the decision logic for this remote bizarre scenario. It is a really involved release notes.
Yeah.
And, it's really cool in a way, but then I know that whenever you see, like, it gets a little too close to a curb in a turn or something, or like the classic everybody loves is you're going down the road and it just decides to slow down all of a sudden because whatever it saw, it thinks it needs to slow down. Then it speeds up again. It's like, okay, well, it's time to hit that video button again, so that, because it's a 16-year-old, right? We got to get the training set data back to the engineers so they can fix it sooner or later.
Yeah. Well, for me,
that's the most amazing part. Their entire
really
driver pool to help with the training, right?
Millions of driver miles,
the
crowdsourcing.
They have more hours of video than they can process, and yet they're undergoing huge efforts to process amazing amounts of video and analyze them, so many different ways. It's incredible.
It is.
But for me, I won't yet commit to it because it's all a matter of, for me, it's weighing the probability of failure, which is really low, against the cost of failure. And the cost of failure is really, really high.
Yeah, I know, but you accept that for other people. You trust other drivers right now, right? The cost isn't any different, right?
Well,
a fatality is a fatality.
Huh? That is, if the cause is another driver. But what if it's just the environment?
That's true. Yeah, I guess. It could.
I've got another side to think about. What happens to your electricity grid in Texas, which is already taxed, when you have 50 million drivers or whatever, 10 million drivers in Texas on electric vehicles, having to charge them?
Supercharging overnight? Yeah. Well,
there's nothing that says an AI has to be an electric vehicle. A self-driving car has to be electric.
Yeah, no, nothing says it has to be electric, but typically they're going electric with most.
Well, the answer to that, Pat, is that it's electric vehicle adoption isn't going to happen overnight. So you're not going to see a surge in demand that is that rapid. And they're always building more capacity. They're always planning and building more capacity to meet anticipated need. Second, the time at which most people are charging is overnight, when demand is low.
If you have a commuter vehicle in town or whatever, yes.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the other factor as well that will mitigate, the impact on the grid. It's not saying that there won't be a somewhat of a challenge meeting increased need, but the change in demand is going to be relatively slow. And then there are things that can be done to mitigate that demand, like the utility companies will start, some of them already do, offer lower rates for overnight usage.
Yeah, and then the next one that hasn't been addressed, I don't think, by any government, is in gasoline or diesel fuel, you pay road tax to build your highways, to maintain your highways. Mm-hmm. Your electric vehicle
they're starting to tax them already. I thought I heard something the other day that it's electric vehicle tax. If you own it, registered, it's like $600-800 a year or something. It was extremely expensive from what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not when I say expensive. In the lumps, it's probably no money But if once a year I got to pay $800 so I can drive my car on the road, and in one lump sum, that's a problem. I don't care who you are, I mean, unless you won the $2 billion lottery, and then you won't care too much. But other than that, I think you care. You know, especially like that.
I tell you where I think you'll see. I think the cars will go completely automated on. Well, won't be cars. They'll be trucks. They'll be, because I think there's more. And I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a dedicated lane on the superhighways. So you see trucks would be completely driven by the AI. Now, Teamsters, because they don't want to be put out of business, you'll still have to have a shotgun driver, even though he might be just sitting there watching television. But you'll have to have a shotgun driver. You'll have its own lane. And I think that that's where it'll allow them to even do better planning of where the trucks are. It should lower the failure, since they have their dedicated lane, it'll probably get rid of some of the accidents they get involved in.
Well, I think I remember seeing some plan where you can have one driver and multiple trucks following in a convoy.
Yeah, I could see that.
We call it platooning.
Yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if the AIs are going to incorporate, discourteousness by car brand. Like, my wife and I have this thing, it's like, oh, this guy cut you off, just cut us off. Oh, he's a Cadillac driver, or a
pickup driver.
Mercedes.
I don't know about you, but I've started taking a tally myself of what brands tend to have more assholes behind the wheel.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Mercedes.
And on the other extreme, like a Honda CRV, people don't drive those over 55 miles an hour. I don't know why, but they don't seem to.
Built in the speed governor.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe the car can't go faster than 55. I don't know. But.
Okay, guys, I'm going to leave. Goodbye.
All right.
See you Saturday at noon. Saturday, right?
Saturday, Kareem, Iron Rain.
See you then. We'll see you.
So where's that meeting going to be at?
Right here on the same Zoom
regular
virtual. Yeah.
We'll send links out tomorrow and such, but we'll see you Saturday.
Yeah.
It'll be the same Meet URL.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Take care.
Watch out for those Cadillac drivers.
Night.